I want to do that too, see.
Okay, go ahead, John.
81, -27.
81, -27, 9. And again, this is a little bit off kilter. This wasn't exactly what our lesson was on yesterday, but this is pattern. Okay, so you've noticed for all of them, they will all be adding, subtracting, multiplying, or dividing integers. Hello. So this is all. So what's the pattern for this one? Okay, these are getting smaller here. So yeah, do you get it?
Divide by -3.
Good. Excellent. Now, if you couldn't see that, the way you'd be thinking, there's only two options. It's getting smaller, so you can't be multiplying by anything, right? Because if you're being multiplying, you'd be getting bigger. The same way you can't be adding, because if you were adding, you'd be getting bigger as well. So the only two options are either be subtracting or dividing. If you're subtracting, you'd have, that'd be like minus, I can't do that in my head, 108 or something like that, and then minus another 108 would be a really, really small negative. So the only one that's left is dividing. The reason it alternates, why is it -3 instead of just 3? Yeah, go ahead.
Because like a positive and a negative.
Yeah, very good. When you multiply or divide by a negative, it flips the sign, right? Remember we were talking about that yesterday? So when I do 81 divided by -3, I'll write this on the board, I guess. 81 divided by -3 is equal to -27. And then you do -27 divided by -3 equals 2. Okay, that isn't easy. This is just sort of a little bit of patterning. That's all that one is, right? Just to sort of see the patterns. Is someone okay? No? I can't read you guys. You guys are better than my last year's class, this year's class last year. They were just so up in every lesson. Okay, 2D says, can I get somebody, John, since you're still Spider-Man, you're still going to read out 2D for me, please.
5, -20.
Okay. All right. What's the pattern here? Are we going to be, how's this going to work here? Yeah, go ahead, Teresa.
It's multiplied by -4.
Excellent. Okay. So the thing is, how do we get that? Well, the way I would get it, I think, well, I'd forget about the positives and the negatives. 5 times 4 is 20. 20 times 4 is 80. Right? That's sort of how the pattern goes. There's a negative, so it's going to flip from positive to negative. That's going to happen. Did the question ask to do the next 3 in the sequence? Is that what it said?
Next 2.
Next 2. Okay, so as far as how the next 2 would go, then this would be divided by -3 should be -3 and plus 1. This one should be what? What's the next one there? I can't get a name. Sorry, Cody. Go ahead. Good, because if you take a look, 80 times 4 is 320, and 80 times -4 is -320. Then we'll get the last one. This is a big one. Austin, go ahead. 1280. Now you might say, Mr. Sadler, that's way too big numbers for me. The calculator's okay, right? Like for this one, you're getting up to big numbers. What's going to happen on your test on Wednesday? And there is no calculator on Wednesday. On your test, every number will be under 10. Like everything's going to be small, manageable numbers. I just want to make sure you can do integers in your head and fractions, stuff like that. Yeah.
Question on the test.
Yeah.
Will it be on just integers or?
No, it'll be on everything we do this week, which is going to be integers, mass, and fractions. Those are the 3 things we're doing. Okay. Every number will be under 10. Like they're all going to be small numbers that I'm not out here. Like I don't expect you guys to be able to do 238 times 468 in your head, right? That takes way too long. All small numbers. I just want to make sure you guys got fractions and integers. That's good. Okay. Let's do our warm-ups and then we'll stop here. John, you're going to be up first. This is our warm-up was. If I can read it. 4 minus 6 minus -5 plus -8 minus 3 plus 4 minus 5. Now I know I'm evil giving you this, okay? Like I'm evil, I know. Okay, but you guys can do this. John, looking at that one, what would your first step maybe be if you had to pick a first step?
I'd probably figure out that when there's 2 negative, like the subtraction the negative sign, and put
wonderful. That's totally what I would do, would be to get rid of the brackets. Okay, so the negative 5, excellent, changes to, I'd probably write this as something like 4 minus 6 plus 5. What is, because the two negatives make a plus, what's like positive negative 8? Or is that the same as? Negative 8, okay, so it's just negative 8. Now, different people do this in different ways. You can either go left to right, or you can group positives and negatives. I'm going to pass Spider-Man, it's going to go off to you, Maggie. Would you prefer to go left to right, or would you prefer to group the positives with positives and the negatives with negatives? Either one's fine. Okay, so we're going to group all the positives. What that means is I'm just going to write 4. Okay, well, the 4 is gone. Then move to plus 5. We put that down. What else do we have? Plus 4. Then I'm going to do my negatives. Negative 6. Negative 8. Negative 3. Negative 5. Why might that be easier to do? You don't have to do this step. Can somebody tell me why I might want to do that for this big one? Still, go ahead.
I think it's easier to just how you read. I think it's easier to just go from left to right, keep crossing each one off.
Yeah.
That's how I would do it. I just keep crossing.
Yeah, and that's cool. As long as we get the same answer, that's good. These I can do in my head, no problem. What's 4 plus 5 plus 4? Oh, 13. Okay. So I did all the plus together, that's just a 13. All those negatives. Now negatives, when you subtract negatives, what is it like doing? How do you subtract it? It's sort of like adding, it's all negatives. So what's negative 6, negative 8, negative 3, negative 5? I'm going to pick on Christopher. What's negative 6, negative 8? What's that going to be? Well, let's forget about the negative. What's 6 plus 8? Close, 14. That's okay, 14. They're both negative, so it's negative 14, right? Then you're going to subtract another 3. Aiden, you're up. Negative 14, negative 3 is? Yeah, negative 17, because there's still that. Okay, next you're up to Cody. Negative 17, negative 5 is? Negative 22. Okay, right, it'll be negative 22. Okay, so you guys okay with what I did there, right? They're all, instead of just, because they're all going in the same direction, it's like, yeah, there happens to be a negative there. So it goes there. All right, finally, 13 minus 22. What do we have to? Bailey, 13 minus 22. Negative 9, is that right? Now you might say, Mr. Sadler, I can see you saying this. You can say, Mr. Sadler, I did mine a different way and I got the same answer. Is that okay? The answer is yes, that's fine. As long as you get negative 9. What I'm showing you on the board is not necessarily the best way, just what I consider to be the clearest way to get the answer. Okay, so if you did a different way and you got the same answer, wonderful. Okay. Did anyone get that without my help? Anyone get negative 9? There's hands. 2 people did? Okay. I hope most people gave a good shot at these, okay, for this. Let's move on to letter B here. Julie, up to you. Like, grab Spider-Man and tell me you feel better. Okay. You don't need them? This is 3 times negative 2 times negative 4 times negative 6 over negative 2 times negative 3 times negative 4. Okay, this question looks like a monster. Before we actually start with this question, I'm going to ask for 2 volunteers. This goes for anybody here. What's the top of a fraction called? Go ahead. This is called the numerator. Okay. What is the bottom of a fraction called? Leah, go ahead. This is called the denominator. Okay. There's many different ways to solve this question, but Julia, I'm going to ask you, do you want to start with the numerator or the denominator to solve? Either one is okay. Okay, lovely. So, if you were doing this question, what would you do? Talk me through it for the numerator.
What I did?
Yeah.
I just started with 3 times negative 2.
Perfect. That is?
And it was 6, positive 6, and then negative 6.
Negative 6. Now, if you're confused over it's positive or negative, can somebody help out here? Why is that negative? Yeah, go ahead.
You're multiplying out positive number by a negative.
Positive by negative is a negative. Now, if you can't remember that, you're thinking you're starting with a positive, a negative means flip. So your positive gets flipped to a negative, if that helps. All right, Luke, what do I do now, if anything? Negative 6 times negative 4 is what? Start with 6 times 4. 6 times 4 is? 24. Two negatives are positive or negative? Good, so this is just going to be 24. I think this may be a calculator question. I can probably do the next one. Okay, 3 up 2. Yeah. Okay, you got a calculator? Or can you do 24 times 6 in your head? Those are the two options. It is going to be negative, that's true. Natasha, do you get it? Negative 144. Now, we want to make sure that we know it's negative, okay? Now, you could have figured out it's negative right away. Negative, positive, negative. They just flip right away at the beginning, okay? Otherwise, though, that works out. Now, this is the way I work. I'm going to say a sexist statement here, so I apologize to the guys. Women are better at multitasking than guys are. I'm just going to say it. I apologize to the guys here, okay? So what I do, I can't do numerator, denominator, numerator, denominator, numerator, denominator. I can't do that. So I'm just going to focus on the numerator, focus on the numerator, focus on the numerator. There will be somebody here. Let's call him Matthew. They'll instantly look at the top and just say, yeah, that's obviously a negative 144, and that's okay. All right, but for us, we'll work it through all the way. All right, Joel, denominator. Negative 2 times negative 3 is?
Negative the bottom?
Yeah, denominator, these two. Negative 2 times negative 3 is? Good, positive 6. Who we got? Hannah. 6 times negative 4 is?
Negative 24.
Negative 24. Okay. Are we done?
No.
No, we are certainly not done. There is, now before I say Mr. Sadler, I found a quicker way to do this. Yes, there's a much quicker way to do this than the way I'm doing it here, but I want you guys to practice with your negative. That's where we're going as slow as possible on this question. What can I still do in this question? What do I have to do always? Austin, go ahead. Yes? Okay, well, I don't think that'll work out evenly, will it? Probably will. Does it work with this one? It might, okay. But what should we do? What should we do always when you do a fraction, though? What's the last step in a fraction, no matter what? John, what's the last step?
Put in the next number.
No, well, not necessarily. You can, and that'll still be right. I want a different word, though. I want somebody to shout it out. Tori, what do we do? Yeah, lowest terms, smallest form, lowest terms. So, what can both those numbers divide by? 24 actually works, okay? But let's say you didn't know 24. Instantly looking at that question with no thought, what will that instantly divide by? Yeah, go ahead, story, Natasha. 6, yeah. 6 will work. I was going to say 2, right? Why does 2 work? And 6 will work, 12 will work, 24 will actually work. Why can you tell instantly 2 is going to work here for this? Yeah, they're both even. So I would instantly start with 2. 6 will work as well, but I'm just going to do a whole bunch of steps here. When I have a negative divided by a negative, what's the result going to be? Positive. So this is going to be positive, first of all. And I divide them both by 2. That should be 72 over 12. That's still not in lowest terms. Matthew, why is that not in lowest terms?
Because it's still divided by more.
Yeah. Okay, what do they both divide by? 12, actually. Let's do 2. They both divide by 12. They're just going to be 6. Okay. If you can't do that in your head in one step, I can divide by 2 as well. And then you sort of break it down by 2 each time. Okay. This is coming back a little bit. We're going to get into fractions a lot more today. Did anyone see a quicker way to do this than what I actually did? Because there is a few different quicker ways I can do to solve this. Did anyone? I'm sure not everyone wrote this out in 20 steps here, right? Anyone see a quicker way I can do things here? Nobody? Yeah, go ahead.
I don't, but I just kind of didn't get how you got 344 back there.
Oh, I think that's 24 times 6, I hope. It's 24
Okay.
times 6? Hopefully 24 times 6, 144. Yeah. that's good.
Well, since it's 24 times negative 6 and the denominator is negative 24, you can take away the 24 and the 24.
Yeah.
So
You could have canceled here, right? If you wanted to, and been left with negative 6 over negative 1. Actually, 6. So I could have done that. as well, all the way through here too, right? -4 and -4 cancel, right? -2 and -2 cancel, right? So right on the first line, you could have just done that and then cancel like that. So this, and that's okay to do like that. Joel, go ahead.
Why are you canceling those out?
Because if you do the same thing top and bottom, they cancel. So let's say if I have like 10 divided by 10, right? 10 divided by 10, they just cancel because they're divided, right?
And now,
So you can do, we're talking more about fractions. This is sort of a tangent a little bit, so we'll talk more about fractions today. Okay, well, other than the canceling part, are we okay on what happened beyond the canceling part? So just multiplying integers, that's all we're doing here, that's the idea for this. John, how you doing? Good? Okay. I'm gonna hit pause on the video. Christopher also, you'll try it back there. Sorry, I shouldn't. Okay, I'm gonna hit pause on this, hopefully. And, 16 minutes.